Hey Robbie, this is Jack here from Flat Cap Euro Talk and the Irish Hotspur. You asked me to, give maybe my thoughts on potential downfall that Jose Mourinho went under over at Spurs. Kind of wrote some thoughts down, so figured, I kind of go through them. Of course, there are plenty of other theories, plenty of things I could have missed in terms of maybe what went wrong under Jose. But here are my thoughts and just a few of them. The first one just has to do with kind of Jose's route one sort of approach to the way that we played. We were very focused on two players in particular, Sonny and Kane. Those were kind of the only ways that we tried to score, the only ways that we ever really did score. Take a look back at the stats of, how few goal scorers we had that were, even close to, seven or eight goals in the league or even in other competitions was a bit sad when you think about it that way. It really was just a hyper focus on Sonny and Kane to do practically everything. Kane for the assists and the goals, Sonny for mostly the goals, but also had plenty of assists as well. Don't get me wrong. Of course, Gareth Bale eventually made his way into the side, but Jose, we'll get onto that later, didn't really, treat certain players maybe well enough for that to work out. As well as, we saw that, he didn't have maybe a lot of firepower to work with. Lucas Moura, I think, tried his best under Jose Mourinho, still struggled to kind of score and, find maybe opportunities to be able to score. And it's just kind of that was part of the downfall was maybe the fact that he just had such a kind of route one sort of style, which was, play only one way, score only one way, and just continued to do it that, manner no matter what. And didn't really matter what sort of formation, what sort of shape he used. He just still tried to play basically the same way in terms of scoring against every single side. Another way was probably his training methods, as we've seen in most modern football teams, like you have to train hard, you have to focus on fitness, you have to have players be able to run for the badge and be able to run consistently and cover lots of distance. I believe Jose's sides did not cover a lot of distance. In fact, we would kind of sit in a very low block sort of shape. We wouldn't really press very hard, didn't really give very much in terms of effort of trying to win the ball back. We kind of let the opposition give the ball to us, and that's a bit of a outdated sort of play style if you're asking me. And that was probably another reason. And the training methods had a huge part to do with that. I believe Harry Kane even said that Jose kind of expected players to work on their own fitness, expected them to kind of be responsible for themselves. And as much as I think that is totally valid and totally should be the case, it's also, sometimes you have to realize that these players just can't be held accountable to do that. And especially I feel like our players can't be held accountable to do that. They'll just go home, go to Fortnite, go on the Xbox and, kind of, whatever the manager asks of them, they'll provide, but they'll do nothing more. They won't go above and beyond like maybe the likes of a Sonny or Harry Kane or maybe other players. And that was also probably another reason why maybe it didn't work out under Jose is most modern football managers, demand a lot from their players in training. They train very hard. They work on fitness constantly. They work on, effort constantly. They work on stamina constantly. And just wasn't something that Jose decided to work on. Another one was kind of obviously the Jose's maybe personality and potential toxicity. To be honest, I really like Jose. I find him to be a very kind of charismatic individual. I find him to be, somebody that I would probably run through a wall for. I think he actually does make a lot of sense. I think he does speak a lot of sense and actually has very wise words, but some players don't really see it that way. And maybe that has to do with the fact that he just treats people quite coldly sometimes if he doesn't really cater to them. He's not somebody that really likes to coddle players. He doesn't really like to, go down to their level and, call them the best, give them a slap, on the butt or anything like that. He just, he behaves like himself. He acts like himself. In fact, that's probably, again, a bit of an outdated sort of kind of personality trait, but I think it's a very, admirable personality trait because you just know what you're going to get from him. You know what type of person he is. So that's another way to look at it as well. It's just the fact that he, maybe the younger sort of players, the players that need to be told that they're amazing, they need to be told that they're great, a million times. He just, didn't really cater to that. And they probably then kind of outed him for it because they just feel like they need to be told that they're the best. And that's not really how Jose goes about things and just didn't work on that level. I think Toby Alderweireld was an example of that, especially in his agent gaze. They kind of, seemed to battle between the two. Of course, Tanguy and Dembele took a long time to get under the wing of Jose, but once he did, he's playing fantastic for Jose. Dele Alli is a great example. Harry Winks is a great example. And then there are plenty of other players as well that, just couldn't really handle, Jose's kind of, charisma and kind of personality traits. So that was definitely another reason maybe that the downfall kind of happened. Another one is Jose's kind of focused on individuals. He doesn't really focus on like a team or kind of a collective, focuses more on kind of, what he can get the best out of certain individuals, and also just certainly doesn't trust certain individuals in the team. So he focused heavily on trying to get the best out of Harry Kane and Sonny, and then just didn't really focus on maybe the rest of the squad, which I think, at the same time, you could look at it the other way where you would want to focus your efforts on Harry Kane and Sonny, but I think he probably hyper focused too much on those guys and then left, kind of the rest of the players in their wake. And that's why they weren't able to perform, because they didn't exactly know what they were doing out on the pitch. And they weren't given probably very much attention in terms of instructions or uh, uh, lessons or anything like that about what he wants them to do on the pitch. And that could potentially have also been another reason why it didn't work so well. So Matt Doherty is a great example. Like, he played him at right back, and Matt Doherty looked like he had never played football before out there. Again, you kind of go to examples like maybe Musa Sissoko, like really starting to struggle at certain moments where he didn't feel like he knew what his role was, to know what he wanted to do with the ball. You take your example to probably even Sergei Reguilon at certain moments where he kind of fell off a bit and was really inconsistent, because he didn't really seem to have a lot of instructions or, have any idea of what he really should be doing, on the pitch as well. Our center backs continued to, just go in and out, and, really would make lots of mistakes. They didn't seem to have a lot of kind of individual training or individual attention, as well as it probably goes to maybe other players and the team, that just whenever they did come onto the pitch, they just didn't really seem to have any idea what they were really exactly doing, which I think is just had to do with maybe Jose's kind of hyper focus on individuals. Another one was his style of play. And also that style of play, I think, hurt him in kind of the games against much smaller teams. And we're even seeing that right now with Roma, where he does quite well against maybe the bigger sides. Jose does. He knows how to motivate his players. He knows kind of the right sort of way to break down maybe bigger sides, but has really struggled against smaller teams that are kind of perfectly capable of, just ready to do a sort of a giant killing. If he's not, the underdog, if he's not the person that, maybe that has a chip on his shoulder, he kind of struggles with that sort of kind of dynamic and that sort of, approach. And so you see that with Bodo Glimt, you see that with Roma, you see that with Dinamo Zagreb, you see that with Antwerp and whatnot. And also even the fact that Marine wasn't exactly, the biggest demolition until eventually our quality just came through. He does struggle against, I feel like, sides that don't really have anything to lose. He needs to play against teams that do have something to lose. And I think that's maybe something also with Jose's sort of play style, his game management, that has probably suffered, as he needs to be the underdog. He needs to be the guy with a chip on his shoulder. And when it's the other team that is in that scenario, kind of seems to struggle with that. And again, I must kind of digress and say, like, I really still like Jose Mourinho. I think he's a very, kind of funny guy. I think he's probably still one of my favorite managers of all time. But you did ask, Robbie, what are maybe the reasons, what are kind of the issues that were with Jose and what led to his eventual downfall. And I think that was it. And eventually over time, he lost the dressing room because of these reasons that I've mentioned, for tactical reasons, personality reasons, eventually lost the dressing room. Eventually they stopped playing for him. And Daniel Levy probably got word of that and probably noticed that and just probably had enough with him. And, also considering that I think he saved a few bucks on maybe his sacking as well. Those are all the reasons maybe for the downfall of Jose. Thank you very much, Robbie. It's fun to maybe talk about Jose. I don't really like to hate on him too much because I still do respect him plenty. But that'll be all for now. Again, everybody, if you want to check out more of me or David, head on over to the Irish Hotspur. If you want to see anything that I have to say, maybe on any sort of European terms, like I did with Roma, head on over to Flat Cap Euro Talk, the second channel. Thanks.